Madam First Deputy Speaker, led the Zambian delegation to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Africa Region Conference and annual general meeting held in Arusha, Tanzania from the 29th September to the 6th of October 2024. Since the report was tabled on the 31st October 2024, I'm sure that my honorable colleagues have had the opportunity to familiarize themselves with its contents. Allow me, therefore, to highlight only the salient points. The 53rd CPA Africa Region Conference and AGM was held under the theme African Parliaments at the Forefront of Addressing Existential Global Challenges, being food insecurity, climate change, and youth unemployment. The conference consisted of the AGM, meetings of the Executive Committee and subcommittees, and workshops on various topical issues. A number of outgoing members of the CPA-ARR were also awarded plaques in recognition of their service to the organization. With regards to the awards, I wish to report that the outgoing Vice Chairperson of the Executive Committee, Honorable Lucas Sinimbo Muhu, MP, the outgoing Treasurer, Honorable Ntombi Mwegu, MP, the outgoing Vice Treasurer, Mr. Tumisang Mangwegape, MP, the outgoing Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, CWP Africa Chairperson, Dr. Zainab Gimbu, MP, and the outgoing CWP Africa Vice Chairperson, Honorable Talita, MP. The outgoing Senior Regional Representative, Mr. Osai Mesa Bonsu, MP, and the outgoing Regional Secretary and former clerk of the Parliament of Tanzania, Ms. Nenerwa Mihambi, were recognized. Madam Speaker, another highlight of the 53rd Conference and AGM is that the gathering was informed by a report of the CPA General Secretary, Mr. Stephen Trigg, to the effect that significant progress had been made in the legislative process within the British political system towards changing the status of the CPA from being a British charity to being an inter-parliamentary organization, IPO. To that effect, I beg your pardon, the relevant bill, which had initially been sponsored by a private member, had taken up the British government and was mentioned in the King's speech for 2024. The assurance, notwithstanding, the Assembly resolved to keep the pressure of the British government until the CPA becomes an IPO. Madam Speaker, the final outgoing of the Assembly that I want to highlight is the adoption of Honorable Dr. Kalila, MP, first Vice President of the CPA Zambia branch, as Africa's official candidate for the vacant position of Chairperson and of the CPA Executive Committee. Further, it was resolved that a team of CPA AP members be set up to campaign for Honorable Kalila during the 67th Annual Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference, which was held in Sydney, New Wales, Australia, from the 3rd to the 8th November 2024. The campaign team was led by Osai Mesa Bonsu, MP, and a member of the Ghanaian Parliament and the senior member of the CPA. The other candidates for the positions are Dr. Zanib Gimba, MP, and was requested to withdraw her candidature to enable the continent to field one candidate, that is Dr. Kalila. And Honorable Arthur, MP, Speaker for Barbados. Madam Speaker, I wish on behalf of the delegation to congratulate Dr. Kalila on his endorsement and thank him for flying the Zambian flag high in the CPA. As the House now knows, Honorable Dr. Kalila was subsequently elected Chairperson of the CPA Executive Committee at the 67th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference in Australia. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the National Assembly for facilitating the delegation's participation in the conference. I also thank the CPA Zambia Secretariat for its support to the delegation, including its remarkable contribution to Honorable Dr. Kalida's campaign at the conference. Allow me also to thank the African region for the confidence it has shown in our candidate. Indeed, the overwhelming endorsement by the region of Honorable Dr. Kalida candidature speaks volumes about the goodwill that the country in general and the National Assembly of Zambia in particular enjoys on the continent. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I want to begin by sincerely thanking you for allowing me to second the motion to adopt the report of the Zambian delegation to the 53rd Conference of Parliamentary Association in African Region. That was held in Arusha, Tanzania from the 29th September to 6th October. That has been ably moved by my colleague, the Honorable Member for Mapatizia. Madam Speaker, I will just highlight a few areas that the mover of the motion hasn't touched. And I'll begin, Madam Speaker, by discussing what was discussed at the conference, and that was to enhance Africans' preparedness to cope with the effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, as we know, climate change is real, and as such, the 53rd CPA African Region Conference and AGM recommends that African governments undertake policy reforms towards integrating climate change policies into a planning and decision-making processes, and use international cooperation as a means of obtaining funding, accruing technology, and building capacity for implementing mitigation strategies, as well as coping with the consequential disasters. Madam Speaker, this was a subject that was stressed and discussed at length, looking at the real issues of climate change. Madam Speaker, African governments were also urged to educate communities about the risks of climate change and the actions the communities can take, and to engage in joint initiatives that address cross-border climate challenges such as desertification, droughts, and floods. Also, the Assembly also calls on African parliamentarians to influence legislation and resource allocation towards poverty alleviation as one of the ways of mitigating the effects of climate change on the continent. Madam Speaker, I will also talk about the second salient issue which was discussed, and this was on enhancing abundant renewable energy sources to speed up industrialization. Madam Speaker, as you know, the drought that has hit certain parts of the continent or Africa has actually left a lot of the deficiencies in terms of energy satisfaction. And as such, the Assembly, Madam Speaker, advised African governments to engage the private sector and international organizations in a financial mechanism that specifically supports the development of renewable energy infrastructure in Africa. Also, to conduct public awareness campaigns on the benefits of renewable energy. It also encourages community ratification in local projects and discourages the use of fossil oils as source of electricity, and focus on less costly and sustainable sources of electricity that also support industrialization. Madam Speaker, African governments were also encouraged to develop clear regulatory frameworks that support the integration of renewable energies into national grids and create a regional framework for joint ventures and collaborative projects aimed at harnessing cross-border renewable energy resources. Madam Speaker, the third issue that I want to discuss, that was discussed, was the